Hello, everyone. I just finished a movie that they put on Crave, so I thought I'd watch it. I'm always a sucker for a good music biopic. I always like to watch a music movie, and at the end of the day, I'm not super upset if they're highly accurate or anything. I'm not going to be that person who's like, well, I love Queen. I didn't love the Queen biopic. I liked elements of it. I thought there was some really good stuff, but I wish they focused more on Freddie Mercury's later life as opposed to just the early stuff. And if they were going to focus on the early stuff, maybe just focus on one really iconic album and such. I feel like a lot of music biopics try to do so very much. At the end of the day, you want to try to cover the entire life of the person who makes the music. You want to cover their discography, you want to do all of this, and I feel that's set in place for a 3.5 hour documentary, for example, the one on the Eagles. Um, and I adore the Eagles doc. 3.5 hours, very deep dive, diving into all of it. And if you really want to know about the entire artist's life, there's a great YouTube channel, Deep Dives, and they do full discographies there. I was watching the Beatles one yesterday because I was like, yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. So I sat through Elvis and I watched Elvis, and there's a lot of things I really, really liked. Austin Butler, I believe is the name, is incredible. He's very, very good as Elvis, and every scene he's in, he is the highlight of that scene. I think the actress, I'm just going to get it right here. I always forget. Don't mind that. Who plays Priscilla Presley does a really, really good job. But I don't think any of the actors in the film have any scenes to work with because of the way it's edited. And the way it's editing works, and it's also to its detriment of the film. When you're watching the movie and you're like, okay, here I am. I'm going to watch this movie. The first 45 minutes is a montage of Elvis Presley's early life. And it goes through a lot of his music and such, but only the hits. You know they're only going to hit the hits. You know they're never going to play the obscure songs. I was waiting for Let's Play House. Never got it. I was waiting for Mystery Train. One of the most valuable 78s you can find. Didn't have it. They played Blue Suede Shoes and Hound Dog and such. And I think they did a good job at the point where he went on and he did his first television appearance. But it all felt very rushed. It all felt like a 2.5 hour trailer, really, at the end of the day. And I think that worked for elements in the film. And I think if you want to do the Baz Luhrmann rush editing, I'll call it the Taken editing, Taken 3 editing specifically, it works for montages when things are very intense or when you build to an intense moment or when he's doing the music. But when the music's not being played, when the music is simply not there, maybe the music's playing in the background or whatever, you don't need to edit 100 miles a minute like your ADHD. You need to focus on the characters. These are small character moments. You need to focus on Elvis with a long shot, with some slow movement. You don't need to run a mile a minute. I was, until the end, this movie just goes boom, 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 boom. And it's incredibly disorienting. And there is an audience that likes that sort of movie. But I think this type of editing should be used incredibly sparingly. You need to build. You need to earn your montages. Because if you look at a Rocky film, before we even get to see the montage with Gonna Fly Now by Bill Conti, an incredible piece of music composed, we get Stallone slowly jogging around. We get him going to the gym. We get lawn shots with him and Mick. We get moments where we just get to see him lay in bed or crack an egg and listen to the radio. There are small character moments. When Adrian comes over for the first time, he just looks at her. And he says, hey, do you want to sit down? And he plays his music. And it's slow, and it doesn't have to be this big, ambitious event. It doesn't need to be this overly ambitious, giant, quick scene. It's not like his apartment is begging to be quick cut. It's, here's my heroes. Here's the things I love. Let me call your brother. I'm going to yell out the window. A little bit of humor. And when you have slower scenes, the dialogue hits heavier for the characters. It hits heavier, it's funnier for the comedy. But when you're constantly moving, there's no really elements of humor in this film. And there's no really elements of character development. And I get that we're supposed to see this whirlwind life, this crazy lifestyle, and get in his shoes that everything moves so fast. But Elvis also knew who he was. He knows who he was. And we don't get to see that in the first 2 acts. And he does find himself in the 3rd act when the editing slows down. It does slow down a tiny bit. And it does effectively work. And there are some emotional moments. But I'm not connected with the death of his mother because it moves so quick. It's like, oh, look, someone's died. Move. It's, it feels like his mother's death is a punchline almost in this movie at the end of the day. And the editing really bogs it down. I feel like Tom Hanks' performance as a villain, we do hate him, but I don't want to hear constant voiceover narration. I want, if you're doing a visual film, this is a visual film from beginning to end. And I want to dive deeper into the cinematography. This is a visual film. We don't need voiceover narration to show us what's going on. I feel like Baz Luhrmann thinks we're fucking stupid. I feel like he doesn't respect our audience, that he doesn't think, like maybe a voiceover narration at the beginning or the end to showcase or sandwich it, and maybe a little bit in the middle. I mean, I will say that Random Acts of Violence uses his voiceover narration very well, because it uses the TV or the radio intro. If you haven't seen Random Acts of Violence, brilliant Canadian film. It uses narration, and it basically says, hey, we're at a TV station, we're using radio. It's using the old TV trope to get in, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. They're talking about the comic book they're making. They're on the road. You see montage editing, and it works. But then we go to the storytelling, the normal movement of the shots, and the whole film and Random Acts of Violence isn't voiceover narration. At the end of that, we get some voiceover narration for a finale as we get to the door just a little bit. And we get little bits and pieces sprinkled in. But this is going into Euphoria territory, where you have a whole bunch of brilliant actors acting out some very dramatic things, but it doesn't trust the audience and requires constant voiceover narration. If you want to do good voiceover narration, look at Never Have I Ever. There's a little bit at the beginning of each episode, and then it trusts the audience to watch and learn. There's no major exposition. They just tell a story. This, at the end of the day, is less of a story and more of a music video, where the audience isn't trusted, where we get montage. And yes, we're trying to create a feeling. We're trying to create a feeling that things are moving fast. His life is a whirlwind, but you still have to have small character moments. You still have to have those moments for us to relate to characters, because I did not feel anything when his mother died. It was just, oh, his mother's been on screen for maybe a minute. His father, with the expenses and everything in there, I forgot his father was even in the movie. I'm going to be honest. The main character we see in here is Tom Hanks, and I think he does a good job as a hateable villain, but I don't want to hear his voiceover narration constantly, and if I hear snowman one more fucking time, someone's going to die. No one wants to hear the word snowman. After Frozen, fuck you, Frozen. I don't want to build a snowman, and I don't want to have a snowman on screen. That word is just, it's going up there with kudos. I hate that word. My one teacher in college would be like, kudos to you! Be like, shut up. That was my whole thought process. Like, learn another word. It's like middle school. This is Josh Rand in this video. When I would run around and I'd be like, I'd say it is finished constantly. If you have a catchphrase, use it sparingly. Tom Hanks snowmans this whole movie, and anytime he's on screen, I don't enjoy his performance. And we're not meant to enjoy his performance. We're meant to hate him as a character. But there's not a single ounce of likability or watchability to Tom Hanks' performance in this. He's just old Tom Hanks. I just feel like Elvis doesn't hit. I forgot he had a daughter until the end. That was a thing. Did you know Tom Hanks had a daughter? Did you know that was a thing? And she shows up, and then she's born, and she moves on. And, like, it's so important to him, his family in this movie for the final act, but we don't really get to connect with his daughter. The movie is disjointed. It's trying to be a character piece while trying to be a music video. It's just not great. It's just meh. I don't think I'd sit and watch it again. I think the trailer's the best part. My favorite moments in the movie was when he just sat and talked to B.B. King. We weren't moving, there weren't loud music. It was just an honest conversation, and we maybe got 2 or 3 minutes of that. If we're going to do a biopic or a portrait on someone's life, give me honest conversation. Give me something I can relate to, something as a human being. I get his life was a whirlwind, but we still have to relate to the character on screen. There are amazing biopics out there. This is not one of them.